I'll confess how the week went before you ask, because you'll drag it out of me otherwise. You sent me off with 3 words: live inside the wave, and I did nothing sensible with them. I lay awake trying to shrink myself down small enough to sit astride the leapfrog and ride it, the 2 fields pitching under me like a boat in a swell, and every morning I woke to a cold ceiling and no answer.
None the wiser for the trying, I'd wager, and a little foolish for having tried.
None the wiser, and a good deal sillier, yes. So take me in properly this time, before I make a further fool of myself. What does a man actually do once he's climbed inside a thing made of nothing but field?
The first thing he does is leave the boat on the shore. You don't ride this one. You're steeped in it, which is stranger and truer than any boat. Last week we stood on the sand and worked out what light is. Tonight we go in after its habits, what it comes in, why it comes in so many kinds, and how it does the quiet, enormous work it does.
The what I've got cold, I could say it in my sleep, and very near did. 2 fields taking turns, sailing at a speed the laws pin down, without once glancing at a beam, the same stuff as a spark off my knuckle and the swing of a compass.
A name isn't a habit, though. You know what light is. You don't yet know how it behaves, or why so many unlike things should be, at bottom, one animal. So where should we start, do you think?
You tell me. You're the one who left a loose thread hanging at the door last week, and I've been picking at it for 7 days straight.
The dial, then. Right at the close, I set one down in front of you and lifted my hand clean off it. Do you remember the thing I wouldn't let you turn? The one knob that changes a light into another light.
I remember it well because it itched all week. You said what tells one light from another is how quickly the 2 fields trade places as the wave rolls by, how rapid the leapfrog, and then, maddeningly, that's next week's business, and off to bed with me, itching.
I'm a cruel host, and an honest one. And you even had the shape of where it goes. You told half of it back to me before I could stop you. Slow the trading, you said, and you slide toward
the warmth I can feel and can't see. The heat off a fire in a pitch-dark room that I catch on my face with my eyes shut fast. And quicken the trade, and I climb up out of that unseen warmth through the red of an ember, on toward the blue of a noon sky.
Now, the thing I held back, the reason I lifted my hand off. You spoke as though the dial had a stop or two just past your notice. A little warmth below the red, a little something above the blue, and then it ran out of room. It does not run out of room. Keep turning it, and the wave keeps being a wave, long after your eye has gone dark and stopped reporting.
Keep turning it which way? Slower, you mean? Past the warmth, down to a trade so lazy the fields barely stir at all, I can't even picture that. There's no colour left down there for me to name it by. My eyes shut up shop and gone home.
And yet the wave rolls on exactly as before. Same 2 fields, same handoff, same law of Maxwell's governing it, same one speed through the empty dark. Only one thing about it has changed. The single thing you've had your hand on all along.
Which is?
How long each ripple is, from one crest to the next. That length is the difference between one light and every other light there is. So fix it in your hand before we take another step, because everything tonight hangs off this one measure.
Let me be sure I've the right measure in my head. If I could freeze the leapfrog mid-flight and lay a ruler along it, the ripple's length is the run from one crest to the very next. One full heave of the field up and back, stretched along the road it travels.
The stride of the leapfrog, crest to crest, caught frozen in flight. You've got it. A long stride is a long, loping wave. A short stride, a tight, quick one. And the promise I'll make good on tonight, reach out and stretch that stride, or pinch it in, and you slide clean through every light there is or ever could be.
Then run it slow first. Take me down where my eye's already given up, the long, loping end. Stretch the stride right out. What am I standing in the middle of, down there, that I've never once seen?
Radio. Stretch the ripple long, longer than a room, longer than a house, some of them longer than a hill is broad, and you're standing in the radio country. The same leapfrog you built last week, only ambling along now with an enormous, unhurried stride.
The thing that fetches a song through the air to a wireless set, I'm standing inside that.
Pouring through these walls as I speak, through you, through me, without so much as a shiver to announce itself. And it is light, the identical animal as the glow off that lamp, wearing a stride many thousands of times the longer.
Now, hold on. You've slipped a great swallow past me under cover of that one little word. The thing that fetches a song to a wireless is the same beast as a sunbeam. Not a cousin, not a near relation. The same? I feel the floor doing its old trick under me.
I'll not soften it a hair. The same. There's a man you ought to meet for this. Hertz. Maxwell worked the whole leapfrog out on paper and swore these waves must exist and travel at the speed of light. But he never made one to order and caught it. Hertz did.
On a bench with his own 2 hands. He made light to order and caught it.
He shook a charge at one end of a room, and clear across it a matching spark answered him in a little loop of wire. A ripple of field had crossed the empty air and arrived. He'd made light on the bench and caught it in a loop. Only its stride was enormous, far longer than any your eye can take, so it crossed the room unseen and lit no candle on its way.
But he caught it all the same, clocked it, tested it, and it behaved itself.
In every particular that counted, it was light. It crossed at the one speed Maxwell's sum had promised. It bounced off a sheet of metal the way a beam bounces off a mirror. Same laws, same speed, same nature. A longer stride the only difference between the thing in his wire and the thing off the sun.
And how he flung it off the bench in the first place, the shaking of the charge, is that a thing you'll show me, or is it behind one of your doors again?
I'll point at it and no further. The launching is next week's business, kept behind the door. Tonight, only that he made these waves and caught them and proved Maxwell right. Now start the dial back the other way, pinch the stride in and walk me up the country toward my own eye.
Gladly. What's the next province after radio, once I start pinching?
Pinch it shorter and you climb up into the microwaves. Still too long-strided to see, but short enough to do a trick you'll know from your kitchen. It's a stride the water tucked inside things soaks up. The water drinks the wave in and jostles back and forth. And jostling, as you learned long ago, is nothing but warming.
The box on my counter. That heats last night's supper through, with never a flame in sight.
Nothing but those same fields. The suns, the wirelesses. Only at a stride the water inside your supper soaks up and shakes into warmth.
I'll never look at my supper the same again. Keep pinching then. Shorter still, where does that bring me next?
To a stride your body already knows in the dark, without your eye ever being asked. The infrared. This is the warmth we kept meeting all last week. The heat off the fire, off the poker, off a body standing close to you in a black room. Your skin drinks it down and calls it warmth.
But my eye still can't see a thing of it.
The stride's a touch too long yet for the eye to catch. And yet you are never, for one moment of your life, out of it. Because every warm thing you own is quietly pouring it off, day and night.
The warmth I feel off a fire with my eyes clamped shut, that's light. Honest to goodness light. Of a length my skin can feel but my eye can't answer to. I've spent my whole life sorting the world into 2 drawers, things I see and heat I feel, and it was one draw the entire time.
Fumbling about in it with the light off all these years. And now we come to it, the little band you actually live in. Pinch the stride the smallest touch further, past the warmth your skin knows so well. And the strangest thing in that run happens. Over the narrowest band of lengths, your eye wakes up. It opens. The self-same wave, its stride shortened by a hair past the infrared, and after a lifetime of dark, silent reporting, your eye cries out, "Light!" as though this thin band, and this alone, deserved the name.
And nothing whatever happened to the wave itself at that line.
Not a thing changed in the wave. Something changed in you.
That's the part that turns me clean over. It's the same leapfrog it was a hair longer, back in the warmth my eye ignored without a word. The wave was always there, always arriving. My eye just starts answering, right here and nowhere below, some little window that unlatches over this one thin band and stays bolted shut for all the rest.
The change is all in the instrument doing the looking, not in the thing looked at. Cross that line and you're standing in your one lit room, in a house of 1,000 dark ones. The visible, not a wide country.
How narrow are we talking?
Run the dial across all of it, long edge to short, and you've gone the merest pinch of the stride. But oh, what your eye makes of that little pinch. Across this one thin band, every colour you have ever seen is laid out in careful order.
Then walk me across my own lit room, slowly, since it's the only province I've ever lived in with my eyes open. I come in at the long edge, the longest stride my eye will still answer to. What colour is my eye handing me there, right at the door?
Red. The longest stride you can catch, your eye reports to you as red. The ember, the coal, the last coal of a sunset. Now pinch the stride in, gently, and walk. The red warms into orange, the orange into yellow. The yellow cools through green, the green into blue, and the blue deepens at last to violet at the short edge, and one pinch past violet, your eye shuts up shop again. That whole parade, red down to violet, is your one lit band, and there is no more of it.
When I call one thing red and another thing blue, I'm not naming two different substances, two paints the light happens to be carrying. I'm naming two different lengths. Red is a long stride, violet a short one, and every colour between is just the stride pinching in as I walk along. The colour was never in the light like a dye soaked through it.
The light carries a length, crest to crest, and not one thing more. Your eye takes in the length, and entirely of its own accord dresses it up in red or green or blue for you. Two people, two eyes, one length arriving between them, and the redness lives in the seeing, not in the wave.
The rose isn't red out there in the dark then. It's only throwing a certain length, and the redness happens the instant that length lands in an eye that can read it. That's half wonderful and half unsettling, but I'll not chase it down that road tonight. I want the rest of the map first. Pinch past violet. What's out there, off the short edge of my sight?
The ultraviolet. Still light, still the same leapfrog, running the same laws, only too short-strided now for your eye to answer. It's the stride that reddens your skin on a bright day when you catch too much of it. The burn you feel hours later, though you never once saw the thing that did it to you.
Blind again, one pinch past violet, and paying the toll for what I couldn't see coming. There's a pattern forming here about my own eyes that I don't much care for. Keep going, though, shorter still.
One more pinch, and you meet a stride you've met yourself on the far side of a doctor's machine. The X-rays. So short and so brisk, it walks straight through the soft of your hand and is caught only by the bone. And that shadow is the picture they take of you.
My own bones, cut from the same cloth as a sunset. Every time I try to plant a flag, and call one of these a separate kingdom, you tell me, before I can hammer it in, that it's the one country. Is there a shorter end still, or have I reached the bottom of the pinch?
One province further, the shortest will trouble to name, the gamma. Tighter and brisker than the X-ray, the most furious pinch of the leapfrog there is. The light of the most violent business in the sky. And there, near enough, the dial has run its course toward the short.
Then let me say the road back before you do. See if I've held it end to end. Radio at the long end, ambling with a stride longer than a hill. Then the microwave, then the infrared warmth my skin knows in the black. Then, a hair's width, my one lit band, red down to violet. Then ultraviolet that burns me unseen. Then the X-ray through my hand. Then gamma, tightest of all. One dial, one stride, pinching in, the whole way.
Now hear what that means, because it's the whole of tonight in a single breath. Radio, microwave, the warmth on your skin, every colour you have ever loved, the burn of a bright day, the picture of your own bones, the fury off a dying star. They are not 7 different things. They are one thing. One family, one wave, one set of laws, crossing the empty dark at one speed. The only difference, top to bottom, is how long each ripple is.
It's absurd. It's genuinely, gloriously absurd. The thing that carries a song, warms my supper, reddens my nose in summer, photographs my own skeleton, and the plain daylight at the window. You're telling me a stern professor could look at the lot and say, that's all the one substance, someone's merely turned a dial. I've been keeping a zoo full of separate animals. And it's one, stretched to 1,000 lengths.
And the fences you keep wanting to hammer in between the provinces. Here radio ends and microwave begins. Here the warmth stops and the colour starts. There are none. Nature drew none. The stride shortens smoothly, without a seam, without a step in it. The borders are all ours, drawn across an open plain that has no line painted on it, for our own convenience. It is one unbroken run from the longest lazy amble to the tightest fury, with no true joins in it anywhere.
So all my life I've been living inside this one animal, steeped in it, you said, not riding it. It's been pouring through me and past me, and off of every warm thing, at every length at once. And my eye, my proud eye, answers to one thin band of it, and calls that the whole of seeing.
There's the word I most wanted you to arrive at on your own. Steeped. You have spent your whole life in an ocean of this one wave. Radio soaking through the walls, warmth pressing on your skin in the dark, the burn coming off the sky, the daylight, all the lengths at once, all the time. An ocean, and you swimming in it since the hour you were born. And only your eyes are wet.
That lands somewhere under the ribs, that does. I always thought I stood about in the mostly dark, with a few lamps and the sun to light my little scene. And I'm not in the dark at all. I'm drenched, head to foot, in light at 1,000 lengths, and blind to nearly every drop. The dark I imagined I lived in was never dark. It was full to the brim.
And there's the mercy and the joke together. Your eye is a magnificent instrument, and a terribly narrow one. Think of your ear. It takes in the better part of 10 octaves of sound, low rumble to high whistle, a generous wide window on its world. Your eye, on this enormous keyboard of light, takes in a single octave, 1, and calls it the whole of seeing.
Lay that keyboard out for me properly. I think you've just handed me the picture I'll carry home and keep.
Picture a keyboard then, a grand one, only it doesn't stop at the parlour wall. Each key is a length, the longest loping strides down at one end, the tightest and most furious pinch at the far other. Every stride between them a key in its turn. Radio at the one far end, gamma at the other. Every mile the same instrument waiting to be struck. And it does not run the length of a room, It runs for miles, off through the wall, down the street, over the hill, and on out of sight.
And my eye, my whole sense of sight, everything I've ever looked upon in the length of my life, hears how much of that miles-long keyboard.
1 octave, near enough, from somewhere near the middle. A single hand span of keys out of a keyboard that runs for miles in both directions. Every sunset that ever stopped you where you stood, every face you have loved the look of, every green hill and blue noon and red coal. 1 octave, and you never once heard the rest of the tune.
1 octave out of miles. And I only feel how much there is out there. The whole instrument sounding at once all around me, and I catch a single hand span in the middle and take it for the music entire. It isn't that my eye lies to me, it's that my eye is honest about a hair's width and dead silent about a mile.
And some creatures are tuned a shade off you, an eye that hears a key or two you cannot, down toward the warmth or up past your violet. So even among living things, there is no agreeing on where the music stops. Because it doesn't stop. It never once stopped.
Every creature must think its own octave is the whole of the song.
And now, you've been patient, and there's a thing you half said a good while back that I let sail straight past on purpose. You called the dial the trade rate, how quick the fields swap. And all tonight, I've had you turning length instead, the stride. Did you catch that I quietly changed the word on you?
I did catch it, and I let it go because I trusted you'd come back for it. But now you've named it aloud, it itches badly. Last week the dial was how quickly the two fields trade places. Tonight it's how long each ripple is. Those aren't the same words at all. A speed of trading and a length of stride. How in the world are those one dial and not two?
They are one dial. And that you caught the two words not matching is the sort of watching that keeps a man honest at his own bench. The reason they're welded together is the thing we fought so hard to win last week. Tell me again, out there in empty space, how many speeds may this wave travel at?
1, and one only, the single pace that falls out of the two strengths married together, the speed of light. Every wave in the family, radio to gamma, must sail at that one speed and no other. It gets no vote in the matter.
Hold on to that with both hands, because it is the whole hinge. Now picture a long-strided wave and a short-strided one, running along side by side, neck and neck, because they've no choice. In a single tick of time, each advances the same distance. But the long one, with its great loping crest to crest, fits only a few of its ripples into that distance.
And the short one has to cram a whole crowd of skinny ripples into the exact same stretch of road.
So tell me, which of the two has heaved its fields up and down more times in that one shared tick?
The short one, many more times over. It's trading its fields fast, quick swap after quick swap, while the long one manages only a lazy handful. So the short stride is forced to be the quick trader. It's not two separate facts about the wave, it's one fact read off twice.
Two ends of a single seesaw, pinned rigid by the fixed speed. Pinch the stride short, and you have forced the trade quick. There's no choice left in it. Stretch the stride long, and you have forced the trade lazy. Long and slow at the one end, short and quick at the other, always, because the speed may not budge an inch to let the two come apart.
Last week's dial and tonight's are the same seesaw, then, seen from its two ends. Name the length, and I've named the trade rate along with it, because the fixed speed nails the far end down for me. There was never a choice of two dials at all. There's one, and I can read it setting off as a length or as a rate, and the speed guarantees the two readings always agree.
The speed stands between them like a notary, and the two readings agree because it says they must. And do see the economy of it. The wave carries a single, lonely number. Call it the stride if you fancy a ruler, the trade rate if you fancy a clock. And that one number is all that sets it apart from every other light in the family. There is astonishingly little to a beam of light, a direction to go and a length. That's very nearly the whole of it.
There's a small gap hiding in that very nearly, though. I heard it. But before I reach into it, let me be sure the length business hasn't broken something. If long strides trade slow and short strides trade quick, then my red, at the long end of my octave, is trading slower than my violet at the short end. My own colours are sorted by briskness as well. Red the languid one, violet the busy one.
There's the whole seesaw again, shut inside your one octave, and every colour takes its ordered place by how brisk its trade is. Your eye, told not one word of this, sorts the arriving lengths into a ribbon that runs, secretly, in order of how fast the fields are pitching. You have been reading trade rates your whole life, and calling them the rainbow.
That one will take me a good long while to get over. All right, the gap in very nearly the whole of it. A direction and a length is very nearly all there is to a beam, you said. What's the piece you're still holding back behind your teeth?
2 more things, and between them they are the rest of tonight. One is a small matter, which way the fields wag as they cross, and I'll come to it the moment you push me. But the big one you've been owed since last week, since I made you carry it out into the dark unopened. The wave carries something across the emptiness. It does not merely exist and travel. It ferries.
The warmth. That's the door I banged on hardest, and you shut it in my face. Kindly, but firmly shut. The sun's heat, crossing all that empty space to land on my cheek, with no air across most of the road. Nothing to hand the warmth along the way, a poker hands it up my arm. I demanded to know how a wave with nothing waving could carry a star's warmth clear across the void.
And I told you, that's a night entirely of its own, and it stands next in line for us.
Well, here we are then, hat in hand, pay up.
To pay it, I have to make good on the strangest phrase I ever handed you, a wave with nothing waving. You've let me say it for a whole week without quite forgiving me, because every wave you ever met needed a stuff to do the waving. Water to make the ripple, air to carry the sound, a rope to shake along its length. And I keep telling you flatly that this one waves nothing at all.
Which is the very crux of my whole complaint, put better than I put it myself. If nothing's waving, no water, no air, no stuff of any kind between the sun and my face, then what is there to hold the heat and carry it across? A pond ripple I can follow. The pond holds the energy, sloshing. Take the pond away and what's left to do the sloshing? You cannot have a ripple of nothing, and yet the warmth plainly arrives.
The fields. The fields are the something, and that is precisely why I made such a labour last week of dragging you, protesting, into granting them their reality. The thing that's waving is the electric field and the magnetic field themselves. They are not a handy way of talking about some stuff that waves. They are the stuff that waves. And the field, unlike a pond, needs no pond to hold it up.
All right, I grant the fields are real. You flogged me into it last week, and I've stayed properly flogged. They're out there, no pond needed, rising and falling in the dark. But rising and falling is only motion, only shape. Where's the warmth in it? Where does a pitching field keep the actual heat that comes to rest on my face?
In the strength of the fields themselves, that is where it's kept. Cast your mind back to the first nights. A strong electric field was never nothing. It was a taut, straining thing, all set to shove any charge you dared set down in it. A drawn bow holds its shot by being taut, but a bow needs wood to be strung, and here there is no wood, no rope, no stuff of any kind. The field is strung tight in its own right, and holds the energy by that plain fact alone, nothing stretched and yet strung.
A fierce field is a loaded field, then, strung right back like the drawn bow, holding the shot before ever it's loosed.
A feeble field holds little. A fierce one holds a great deal. And the tautness itself is the energy, not stored in any stuff at all, but in how hard the field is pulling on whatever it might reach.
Then let me try to see the whole wave with that in my mind. The leapfrog rolls along, and at each spot it reaches the field's swell up strong, and then sag away to nothing and swell up again. So each patch of space the wave crosses gets strung tight, loaded, then let slack, then strung again as crest after crest comes rolling through it.
Now watch one single spot as the wave arrives. The fields there heave up to full strength, the space strung tight, loaded to the brim. Then they ebb and hand that whole load forward to the next patch along, which strings up in its turn and hands it on again. Crest after crest, the tautness is passed down the road, spot to spot, and the energy never once sits still. It travels, strung up here, let slack, strung up a step further on, riding the pattern forward at the wave's one speed.
The energy travels at the speed of light itself then, because it is the light, the tautness moving right along with the leapfrog. And this is the thing I simply have to check because it's the thing that's gnawed at me for a week. As that load crosses from the sun to my face, does anything actually make the trip? Any stuff? Any matter at all going the distance?
Nothing solid crosses, not one speck of it. That is the whole wonder you've been circling around all night, so let me set it down flat and plain. No matter makes the journey from the sun to your face. Not a mote, not a breath of air, not a particle of any kind. What travels is the strung-up state of the fields, handed from each patch of empty space to the next, all the way across.
The sun doesn't send me stuff then? None at all?
Not stuff, a condition of the fields, rolling steadily across the void. And that condition, on arriving, is warm.
Warm how, though? A condition arriving is still only a shape. Where's the crossing from shape to heat on my own skin?
This is the crossing. The strung field, landing on you, takes hold of the little charges in your skin and shoves them, pushes them back and forth, just as it would any charge you set down in it. And that shoving of your charges to and fro is the very jostling we named a while ago. And jostling, you'll remember, is nothing but warming. The field does not hand you heat ready-made. It arrives strung tight, it works your own charges, and the working is the warmth.
Let me hold that against a thing I understand cold, so I can feel the difference. When the poker warms my hand, that I can follow every step, the fire shakes the poker's own bits, they jostle their neighbours, and the jostling creeps up the iron inch by inch until it reaches my palm. Stuff, handing warmth to stuff, the whole way up. But that needs the poker there, every solid inch of it.
Open up a stretch of pure emptiness in the middle of your poker, and the heat runs to the edge of the gap and dies there. There's nothing left across the void to do the nudging. The poker's plodding way needs an unbroken bridge of matter the whole distance, or it stops dead at the first gap.
But the sun's warmth crosses all that empty space, with no such bridge under it. No chain of stuff for the jostling to creep along, hand to hand. And still, faithfully, every morning it arrives.
The wave lays its own road down as it goes. The fields are everywhere, present even in the emptiest dark. So the tautness has always a next patch of space to leap forward into. Where the poker's warmth would tumble into the gap and die, the wave strolls straight across, on the fields alone.
This is what you meant, all this while, by a wave with nothing waving, and I finally feel the full weight of it settle. It isn't that there's some thin, invisible stuff out there I'd merely failed to notice, quietly doing the waving. It's that there is genuinely nothing, no stuff, and the wave crosses anyway because the fields don't need any stuff to be strung tight in. The emptiness was never a problem for this wave. The emptiness is its open road.
And that lays to rest a tired old ghost we buried together. I'll not have it creeping back. There's no call to imagine some faint, invisible sea filling all of space for the light to wave in. Men hunted one a long age and never found it. And we don't want it, because the fields alone do the job. Space stays honestly empty.
Empty of stuff and yet freighted with energy on the move. The two ring strange in a single breath, but I think I hold them. A field strung right across the void, and a strung field is a loaded field, and the loading rolls straight through. So the warmth off the fire, the light off the lamp, the great heat of the sun, all of it is real energy, riding the fields across whatever gap happens to lie between us.
And now watch how much of your whole ordinary day is that one plain sentence. The fire warms your face across the room. Energy, ferried on the fields, no matter crossing, poured warm into your skin. The sun feeds a green leaf until it can build itself a little larger. Energy that crossed the whole enormous dark and then spent itself running the quiet machinery of a living plant.
The leaf is the one that stops me dead. The sun pours its energy across all that emptiness, and a leaf drinks it down and grows by it. So the wave isn't only warmth and light, it's the actual power that runs the living world, hauled in free across the void. Which makes me want the number, how much? Is a fierce, bright beam loaded heavier than a dim one? I want to weigh the freight.
There I have to lift my hand off, the way you knew full well I would. You can hear the door creaking already. How much energy a wave hauls, what makes one beam a heavy freight and another a light one, how to put an honest measure on the load. That is a full night's work, and it stands squarely in next week's half of the road.
I'll leave the scales well alone then. Though I notice you've now parked two things behind that same door for next week. How much it carries, and, from last week, how the thing even gets launched in the first place. The shaken charge, flinging the ripple off into the dark. Are those the same night's business?
They belong together hand in glove, because to weigh the freight properly, you rather want to know first how it was loaded aboard. How a shaken charge flings a wave off toward the far stars, and how much energy it flings with it, and why a mere jiggle here should send anything racing across the whole void. That is all one piece of work, and it is the piece that comes next.
Count the cost of the launching. I'll hold you fast to that phrase. It has the ring of something that'll pinch a little to learn. But you said two more things a beam carries, beyond its length and heading. The big one was this energy, the small one you'd come to when I pushed you. So, I'm pushing.
The small matter of which way the fields wag as they go crossing. Cast your mind back to the shape I drew you last week. The fields wag crosswise, remember? Square across the way the beam travels, never along it. The electric field pointing, say, up and down. The beam sailing off away from you down the room. Now, I said up and down, as though I'd tossed it off idly. But I made a quiet choice when I said it.
The say. As though you could as easily have said side to side and merely happened to pick up and down for the telling of it. Is that the choice you mean? That the wag, though it must be crosswise, still has room left to pick which crosswise it wants, up and down, side to side, or any slant between.
The choice, yes, and you found it all on your own. The wag must be crosswise. That much is forced. Square across the road, and no wave gets out of it. But crosswise still leaves a whole clock face of directions standing open. Up and down, side to side, any slant you please, so long as it lies square across the beam's road. and which one the field settles on, that is the wave's polarization. A beam has not only a length and a heading, it has a lean.
Two beams could be perfect twins in every other respect then. Same length, same color to my eye, same heading down the room, same freight of energy aboard, and still differ in this one thing alone. That one wags its field up and down, and the other side to side. The same light, only leaning two different ways.
Twins in all but their lean. That alone divides them. Here is the everyday tell, so it doesn't stay an airy abstraction. You've a pair of these in a drawer at home. Glare. The hard white dazzle that bounces up off water, off a wet road, off the bonnet of a motor in the sun. That bounced light comes back leaning mostly the one way, its field wagging along a single direction. It's light that's been combed, so most of it leans together.
The thing in my own drawer that deals with that is a pair of sunglasses, the good ones, that kill the dazzle straight off the water without much dimming the rest of the scene. Which means they must be doing something to the lean itself. They can't be a mere grey tint, or they dim the whole world evenly, and the glare right along with it.
A lovely bit of sorting, that. Think of the lens as a little fence of upright slats, a comb, if you like, a sorter that lets through light whose field wags one way and stops the light that wags square across it. Set the fence against the lean of the glare, and the glare simply can't get through. Its wag is the wrong way for the gaps, while the ordinary light, leaning every which way, still sends plenty on through.
The dazzle dies at the fence then, and the lake itself stays. The sunglasses were never dimming the world at all. They're refusing the combed glare and waving the rest of the light on through. I've worn the things for years and thought them nothing but smoked glass. All that while they've been sorting light by a property I never once knew it had.
That is polarization then, entire for tonight. The field wags crosswise. That crosswise wag has a settled direction. That direction is the lean, and a simple fence can sort one lean from another. There's more a lean can do, and more that matter does to it, but that's a further story I'll not raise now. You've a beam's three honest features in hand at last, a length, a heading, and a lean.
That's a far fuller creature than I climbed inside expecting to find. 3 honest features, and a whole load of energy riding the lot across the dark. I came in tonight thinking I'd learn a handful of colours and toddle off home to my bed. Is there one thing more, or have I got the habits of it now near enough?
Not a new habit, this last one. It's turning everything you've gathered up toward the sky and letting it do to you what it rightly ought. You've learned that light is one family at every length, that it carries energy across pure emptiness with no matter crossing, that the emptiness is no barrier to it but its open road. So hold all 3 at once now, and look up, look at a star.
All right, I'm looking up the way you mean it, properly, not just glancing over. There's a single point of light, hung in the dark, and by everything you've handed me tonight, that point is a wave. This same leapfrog. It set out from that star and it crossed all that emptiness between. The open road, no medium under it, nothing waving but the 2 fields taking turns. And it's ending its whole long journey right now, this very instant, against the back of my eye.
The same animal as the warmth of your own hearth fire, only come to you by an unthinkable road. And count now what that long journey costed, or rather what it didn't. Last week you fretted that surely it must tire, that the leapfrog winds itself down over so long a road, and we found that it doesn't. Across empty space it meets nothing to spend itself upon, does no work on anything, and so it loses none of itself to the emptiness on the way.
For how long, though? Put some size to it for me, even a rough one, so I know what I'm holding in my eye when I look up. How long has the light now landing there been out, crossing the dark, on nothing but the two fields taking their turns.
For years at the least, from the nearer ones. The light in your eye tonight left them before some of this week's news was ever made. And from the farther ones, for ages, hundreds of years, thousands. And for the faint, deep ones, far longer even than there have been eyes in the world to catch them.
I'm never once seeing the stars now then. I'm seeing it's then, the moment when this particular ripple first left it. The star could have shifted, dimmed, done anything at all in the long ages since, and I'd have no word of it yet. The news is still somewhere on the road to me. I'm looking at old light. Every point up there is a piece of the past, only just now arriving at my eye.
And follow it just one step further. The very step you took yourself last week, then set down gently again because it was almost too much to hold. If the light takes ages upon ages to cross to you, and the star has gone on living its own life all the while, then what has become of the star in all that time its light has been out on the road?
You granted me last week that the wave once launched needs neither the charge that struck it nor the star that held the charge.
The star, then, is under no obligation whatever to still be there, waiting, when at last its light arrives.
That's the very thing I flinched away from last week, and you've walked me straight back up to it. The furnace fired the ripple off ages ago, and it's had all those ages to burn low, to gutter, to go out entirely, and the wave wouldn't know a thing of it. Wouldn't so much as flicker at the news. It'd sail on faithfully with its load, undimmed, long after the fire that first lit it had gone cold and black.
And some of them have already. The star died, and its light did not. Some of the points you're looking up at tonight are exactly that. Light still crossing, from a furnace long since gone out. The star burned down, went dark, an age ago. But it had already thrown this wave into the emptiness, and the wave has no more need of it. So the ripple keeps coming, and arrives at your eye tonight bearing the warmth and light of a fire that simply isn't there anymore. You are looking straight at a thing that no longer exists.
Warmed by a dead star. I don't know what to do with my own face when you say a thing like that out loud. A little load of energy left a fire ages ago and crossed all that emptiness on nothing but two fields taking turns, patient, undimmed, keeping faith with its heading the whole unthinkable way. And it's spending itself now, this instant, against the back of my eye, the last thing it will ever do. And the fire that sent it off has been cold 1,000 years.
The furnace is gone. And its light is not gone. Its light is right here, in your eye, doing the one last thing a wave ever does, giving itself up entire. That is what starlight truly is. Energy that outlasts its own source, crossing a gulf you have no honest way to picture, only to end at last against a single eye that happened to be turned upward at the right moment. Not a picture of the star, not news about it, an actual piece of it.
The star itself, then, arriving ages late. Then, when I stand out under the whole sky, I'm not looking at a scene at all. I'm standing in a steady rain of old energy. Each drop of it left some far fire at its own moment, near ones and unthinkably far ones, all landing in my one eye at once, some from fires still burning bright, and some gone stone cold, and no way to tell the living light from the dead by the looking.
There's the plain truth of a night sky, once you know what light really is. No eye can sort the living from the dead. And it is the whole of tonight, gathered up into one look upward. Light is one family at every length. It carries its energy across pure emptiness, with nothing waving but the fields. And so a single wave can cross a whole age of dark and arrive whole, long after the thing that made it is gone.
A different place to stand under now, it truly is. I'll not be able to look up at it the old way again. But let me come back down into the room before you send me off. I can feel the door coming, and I want the shape of it straight in my 2 hands first. Tell me if I've got it whole, and where the edges of it are, the places you kept your hand pressed flat.
Give me the shape of it then. You've earned the summing up honestly by doing most of the building yourself, but keep it short and true. What did you climb inside the wave and find?
2 things mostly. First, it's all one family. Radio to gamma, one wave at 1,000 lengths, no true fences anywhere, and my eye awake to a single octave of it. And second, it carries energy across pure, empty space with no matter crossing the gap. The emptiness its open road and never its barrier. And that is how a fire warms my face, and the sun feeds a leaf, and a dead star still reaches my eye.
Well held. And now the 2 places I kept my hand pressed flat, so you'll know where the floor still has its boards missing. You asked me how much energy a wave hauls, and I wouldn't weigh it for you. And you know a shaken charge flings the wave off toward the stars, but not how that launching works, nor why a jiggle here should send a ripple racing across the whole void. Those 2 are one piece of work, and they're the next.
Next week then, the birth of the wave and the true cost of it. We go back to that shore you keep pointing me toward and watch one of these get made and thrown, instead of standing about inside one already sailing. We light the fire ourselves.
And learn just what it costs into the bargain. That's the errand, and a good one to be greedy for. Take the door now then. You always get the last word standing at it, and you've more than earned this one.
Then here's what I carry out into the dark. I came in tonight sure I'd learn a handful of colours, why red, why blue, and go quietly home to my bed. And I'm leaving knowing the colours were never once the story. They're one thin octave of a single wave that runs for miles past both ends of my sight. A wave I've been steeped in since the hour I was born, drenched head to foot, with only ever my 2 eyes the least bit wet. It ferries the sun's warmth and a far star's light across an emptiness that cannot slow it by a hair, on nothing but 2 fields taking their turns. And the light I'll look up at tonight left its fire so long ago that some of those fires are ash by now. I walked in wanting to know why the sky is blue. I'm walking out having been rained on all my life by old light from dead stars, and only now, tonight, thinking to look up. See you next week, at the shore, when we light one of our own.